I'm not just here to be like a flash in the pan or to be here for like 15 minutes. I am here, I'll be here for a while. My name is Chazz Mack. I'm a senior at IU. I am an artist, a designer. I am the founder and creative director of ARCOLA. ARCOLA, it's a brand that I started it in December 2019. It's honestly a funny story how it first came to mind. Originally, the name of the brand was Let's See Where This Goes. A super longhand name, I know, but it was just the summer one time, and I woke up. It sounds so fried to say it was like a dream or anything like that, but like I woke up and over the summer, well, I think that was a year before my junior year of school. So like I was just at the house. I was back at my parents' crib, so like I really wasn't doing much. So I would always have my laptop on me, and I woke up one day and it was just like, let's see where this goes. The idea just came, like the phrase, more so like the ideology, I guess, is what stuck with me. The first design I had was just like a really, really crazy, like it was like a nice like lavender blue shirt with like let's see where this goes, and this really weird like wireframe type text. It was super cool. But I guess I should preface with that, like I've always been a really avid user of Photoshop and just like digital art in general. So all my ideas were just mainly purely digital. So when I made the idea to like want to try and release something, which was like another leap of faith, I called a few shops in town, really just try to call around, and there were a few shops, but they really weren't the type of like hands-on, more so like they didn't have the type of genuine experience that I was trying to going for. And I called the shop here in Kitchener Emergency Press, and I really came to them like, yo, I have an idea, I want to put on a shirt, how can I go about doing that? We set a time together. I came through, and they were like super nice dudes. Like, and then this was before I had any idea of actually what went on behind the process. It was just me, like, as a client, wanting something. So I went with that, and it felt like even that in itself felt like just like paying the invoice. Felt like just a huge leap of faith, really, because I had no prior like. I always like was a fan of fashion, and I liked representing myself, and the idea of wanting a brand was always with me like since I was a kid. But I remember my mom used to buy me like what do they call it, like the transfer papers that you get at Walmart, and I used to like Photoshop designs on there and put them on the shirts. Like that was in like 8th grade, so like the idea then I lacked the not only the resources and the education, but really, I guess, the discipline to really go through with that. So this time around, it's like, might as well give it a shot. I made 50 shirts, and my friends, I went over to their house, and I numbered each of the shirts. So I would number them, they would number them for me, and then I would sign them at the bottom. It was a super intimate process, and it really came out like, it was super like garage band, like DIY if anything, just because I had no idea really how to run a website or just like set everything up like that. But it was dope. Fortunately, I sold all 50. That was like a pretty surreal experience, and that was around at this time it's probably around like January 2020 when I sold all of them. And then I was really pondering with the name, and when I got to, I was really thinking about home a lot. Home is in like, I originally grew up in Maryland, Crofton, Maryland to be specific, and the name of the street address that we lived on was like ARCOLA Court. So when I was going through a lot of Virgil Abloh lectures. That's a whole tangent, Virgil Abloh. But he was watching a lot of lectures. I was watching a lot of lectures on his work, and he was saying a lot of stuff about a lot of our design ideas, or a lot of stuff that we view creatively. They kind of come from our past. So I try to take that and think about I guess where I came from, and the only name that really stuck with me was Arcola. Once I changed the name, I took a little bit of a, not necessarily a break, but I was like really pondering to make a lot of designs, and an idea that stuck out to me was, I guess, a lot of the with how life was going for me, and also just with the information I was receiving a lot of time, like just through like media, just through like I guess life itself. A lot of stuff that I was going towards is mainly I guess living in the moment, and I guess trying to abandon, not necessarily abandon, but to move forward from your past, and to embrace the idea of change in order to like go into the next phase of wherever you are. And I guess an idea that kind of emulsifies that is just the butterfly. The I guess the process of a butterfly from a caterpillar to becoming a really a fascinating, beautiful creature. Even though it's just like an insect, but super like, but up close, it's so fascinating to see that all this intricate work can come from just what came was originally just a caterpillar. So wanted to work towards making design with that. I guess I've always been around thrifting, mainly because of my mom. My mom, she's like a Goodwill veteran. Like she's did she's well known, and like in probably every Goodwill in the tri-state area. But growing up, she used to always go to like secondhand stores and go to Goodwills to get clothes for us. And she would always be so ecstatic over like, oh, you can get this for $2. This is for 99 cents. All that stuff. Really just raving over the fact of how cheap everything is. I would feel like just because I'm wearing, it's like, oh, my mom's gonna make thrifty clothes. It would take a hit. It would take a hit to my mental, because I would just feel like the the prototypical idea of like having status, I guess, is having things that are like new, brand name. So being a kid, that's just something that I was wrapping my head around, and so I was dealing with that. And also thrifting, at least when I was a kid, it wasn't because we were all in like 8th grade, so it's not like we really understood the benefits of it. It was more so like I would just get clowned really for a good part of it. It was definitely it's definitely come full circle now. I mean, with how revolutionary thrifting has been and just how popular it has been. But growing up, it definitely had it, at least to me, at least in my experience, had a different demeanor to it. I guess trying to lead that into the brand, I guess I wanted to make, I wanted the clothes to symbolize at least somewhat of like myself and myself creating it. And since thrifting is something that has always been a part of me, I wanted to show that as well. And also just trying to be, I guess, as sustainable as I can with the brand. So if it's possible, using clothes from thrifted places is just like the better of two evils, just because of how many resources gets blown through in the just the fashion industry, just making t-shirts in general. So, um, over the course of my first job, the first year, I established a relationship with Jeremy and Jeremy and Jared at the shop. There are two guys at AK's Emergency Press. Really cool dudes. They still have their vitality and their youthful sense, but they have all this experience in design and in printing that, and they were just so down to earth when it came to expressing their process, and we spoke the same language, which was crazy, because at the time I was only knowledgeable of of my work in Photoshop, of the language of Photoshop. So when it came to print and the design, I was hesitant at first to bridge the gap. Right around the time before quarantine hit, they approached me with the opportunity to intern here, just to come around and help out as much as I can. And obviously, I said yes. And in between the moments that I'm working, Jared said he would be able to teach me and to show me the ropes of screen printing, so I was able to start printing my own stuff. And that was just like, honestly, it was just like a dream come true. I mean, being able to have the opportunity to not only work and be in an environment all the time, but to be able to work on my own stuff and to be able to understand what goes on behind the process, hands-on, rather than just having a client relationship. It's more so, it's a lot more intimate, it's a lot more emotional. I'm able to get comfortable with not only the guys, but also I'm able to have more trust in myself when it comes to my designs, because I know what I'm looking for, I know what I'm doing. And now being able to see how far I've come design wise, and also just printing my own stuff, it's been joyous. I've used Photoshop for a while, like since I was like a kid. I played I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, and there were like these like teams you could join, and I was in a bunch of them, but like I eventually wanted to join them for like the graphic design part. So like I would make like backgrounds, and I would like edit videos and do all the graphic design stuff for them, and which is super cool. And I was doing that at like a super young age. Like I was I think I was maybe like young, like 13, 13, 14. That's when, for some reason, that's why I was playing all this Call of Duty. So I was always been a fan of, I've always used Photoshop. I remember like my dad got me like CS4. That was the first one I used, and then I've been using it ever since. Really, it's probably my preferred language when it comes to art and just design. I can do a lot of stuff with it. Now that I'm educated on how to make designs specifically for print and how to get those registered, like how to get their registration set up, I go through designs a lot differently than I did when I first had an idea of making shirts. I'm now more concise when it comes to making the line work better and getting the contrast more attenuated, so the lines don't get all hazy and you don't get a moire when you're printing. I also try to go for halftones all of my stuff. Maybe not all the designs that I've released, but all the designs that I typically make, a lot of them derive from feelings that I either feel emotionally at the time, or if it's I guess some type of a feeling that I would get from a film, any form of media. If it sticks out to me, I try to capture it, and I guess personify it in a way that takes away some of the details and gives it more nuance. I think an idea that I had initially was I wanted to try to make really complex designs, but I realized that I was mainly doing that particularly I guess for myself. It would upset me if stuff gets overlooked, or if the big picture that's getting seen isn't the big picture that I intended for it to be. So to try and distance myself from that, I try to go for designs that are more nuanced, and they while they still express my own voice and my own stance, I still also want to give room for the viewer, the person that views, and also just whoever wears it, for them to associate a meaning with it. It's like a three-step process of like, I make stuff for it to have an intention, and it actualizes itself, it becomes real, and then once it gets out into the world, that's when it becomes its own thing. Once I put it out into the world, that's when it no longer becomes just my design, just my notion. It becomes this whole idea, you know, and it's like shared like mentally among people. It's shared obviously physically with like the colors and the lights and how it looks physically, but as well as the the interpretation of it, the inferences that people make, all that stuff gets spread on two wavelengths of understanding. It's one of my favorite parts about the process is being able to go through the trial and error that comes with experimenting with color combinations and experimenting with levels of contrast and just levels of shadows to realize if this combination of pixels can somewhat simulate the feeling that comes to mind when I think of, you know, when I think of this, when I think of myself, when I think of you know, any topic that comes to my mind, wanting to try to put that into a series of layers and gradient maps. The process itself, it's mainly sampling images, and from magazine cutouts to my own photography, to even typography elements, thoughts that come to my mind, quotes, all those get put together into trying to create a design. What motivates me to produce my work is that I want to be able to solidify and to be able to like back up the ideal that there is such thing as a road less traveled, and it can be taken. What seems to stop people is like overthinking and to be so far into the future that you're really missing out on the steps in between, the process itself. And what I want to continue to do is to further to further showcase the process. I want to continue printing clothes. I want to be able to give platforms for my photography, for my videography. I want to give room for that to grow. I want that stuff to also be able to be showcased. I just want to continue just to push through ideas, and not only push through ideas, push through dialogue, you know, conversations, opportunities to disagree, opportunities to critique. I just want to the process loop of creating, you know, creating an idea and reviewing it and dealing with it again. I want to continue on this monotonous cycle. I want to just keep doing that forever.